All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the podcast, the part two of the Hofzinser'S problems. But before we start the podcast, I do want to thank our Patreons, which are Nathan Wilson, Kit Oldman, Redden Kamal, Daniel Trill, Hung Lim, Mohammed Nayat, Fritz Alkamade, Jeffrey Van Vliet, Radek Pekny, and Steve Brownlee for supporting us and also making this podcast possible. If you like the podcast, you can head over to Patreon and subscribe, and you will find some cool things there, like the annotated lapel. You will find some notes on structure and magic. You will find the My Puzzle notes there, which are unpublished anywhere else. And you will also find there a monthly jam session on the problems we're talking about here, going more in depth about the method of the effects, as well as on things which are closely connected to it, which could help you to understand them better. Of course, those are jam sessions, so keep in mind we also expect you to come with something, and it's an open place for everyone to share, create, and grow together. So, that being said, last time we ended with the card and banknote, so now we're going to the card and handkerchief, right, Alva?
Yeah.
Okay, the
Let's go.
effect is a card is drawn and placed in a white handkerchief. After appropriate pattern, the handkerchief is opened. The card is now blank, and its pips or picture will appear slowly on the white handkerchief.
Yeah.
So, sort of, the, the face is transferring from the cards to the handkerchief.
Yeah. So there's something interesting here. Tamaris has like
I was just
its
thinking about
own,
this in the 5 points. Yeah.
yeah, its own interpretation. And I've seen this routine like many times. I've practiced it, but
Mm.
I've never performed it in front of an audience. It's very, very powerful, and I think
Mm.
it's beautiful.
Such a beautiful fact, but like it's it is also like it's interesting because this is sort of more like the value and the face go from the card to the handkerchief,
Mhm.
right? And then the card is shown blank. Where in Tamaris's trick, it's just someone picks a card and they are holding this handkerchief, and then which was shown to be completely blank, and then when they open it, there's a really big picture of the card there.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So it's
guess.
still a bit of a different interpretation, I guess.
Yeah, of course. I guess this is because I mean we're about it was written in thought of in 1860 or
Mm.
1850 something, like more or less. I want to say
Mm.
with this, like, probably car as popular as now. And
Can you repeat
yeah,
that last part?
probably
You just fell
white
away.
car. Yeah, sir. Yeah, probably blank cars weren't as popular as today, So
Mm.
the symbolic picture of a blank card, and then having the handkerchief with all the pips, in my
Mm.
opinion, it could be like more powerful at that moment than now. So
That
of
makes
course,
sense because it's less like, oh yeah, of course you can make this. It was like something that wasn't really around.
yeah, and actually, Tamaris did something very interesting that was like having the car as a reference, and he was focused on the handkerchief, and
Mm.
this is really nice. But at the same time, the symbolism behind, losing the tips from a card and then appearing on a handkerchief, it's interesting because everyone knows that you're not transferring, everything because they maybe have like different size or whatever,
Mm.
but the thing is, in theater there is something called like a fiction pact. What is, like, for example, in Les in the first scene of Les, they are like
Mm.
going to a mine and they have to take a hammer and they have to hit the ropes. Well, so they are doing the actions, but they don't have any hammer. Okay, and it doesn't
Mm.
matter. It's like the fiction pact. So in my opinion, symbolism is supported by this fiction pact, in this case at that
Mm.
moment, historical moment, using the tips of the cards that now is blank, for the handkerchief. So I think it's
Mm.
very interesting, very, very powerful.
Mm.
Yeah, and I'm thinking of some mentalism effects, with the same,
Mm.
like a white paper, maybe the blackboard, the small blackboards,
Oh
and
yeah,
and
the spirit slates.
and a name appears, on this or a
Mm.
journal. whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, so we could also like just for example imagine an effect where a spectator draws something on a blank card. They put this in the handkerchief and then it went from the card to the handkerchief.
Yeah. Yeah, there are many interpretations of this effect that you're saying, you know. It,
Mm.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we could talk, you know, deeper in the jam session,
Or it could
but
also be fun if you would have a banknote and there's a person on the banknote, like in the British ones, and you put it on the handkerchief, and then the person is gone from the note, and it's on the handkerchief.
yeah, but it changed, you know, it you're
Mm.
changing there, you know, like the a very important point that is like the selection because the banknotes, well,
Of course.
maybe if you have different notes, in some of them
Mm.
the queen appears and then the king and then the prince or whatever, so you have like different faces with different notes, and maybe you're
Mm.
painting that. So yeah,
But I
I
think
don't know.
still, like looking at this, like Tamaris's interpretation is really good and really clean
Yeah,
and very magical, which is definitely, I think, the best interpretation I can imagine of this effect today.
yeah, it's one of the best. Well, there are many ways to like the secret part, you know, and I think Tamaris, that's the, in my opinion, the best one, because
Mm.
how it should be, you know, the way like it's meant to be.
Yeah, and it has like his interpretation is also like really good stressing on the initial and final situation,
Yeah,
and it gives the appearance like the spectator is holding the handkerchief all the time,
in the
which I
material.
think for that, yeah, which I think is really important for that effect.
Yeah, it's awesome. Have you ever
Yeah,
seen? Have you ever watched the video of him performing it?
I've never seen that. No, I just read the 5 points in magic.
Yeah, let me see if I can find it, and we should analyze it here because it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow. Well, let's go. The next.
Okay, next one is card and watch. A card is drawn and placed on the table. The card changes to reveal the painted dial of a watch. Someone is asked to name any hour. The conjurer waves the card and reveals the dial, now showing the hand pointing to the hour asked for. The picture on the card changes from a clock face to that of the original card. So it's sort of like a card is picked, waved over, there's a watch there. Then someone is asked, hey, what is the time? And it's just like 20 past 12. And then you wave again and it's 20 past 12. And then you sort of wave again and it's back to the normal card.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, I think. Um,
Yeah.
because it's like a
Animal
color
has something
change.
similar.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's like a color change, but a three version color change, right? Or even four, but I would just say triple. But even like with something similar that can only happen once a day. I mean, if you
Yeah.
know the method, but um, if not, that's pretty fucking amazing.
Well, Animan has something similar, you know.
Mm.
I used to have a version. It wasn't finished,
Mm.
but I can barely tell the idea, you know.
Mm.
So the thing is, I was how was it? Oh yeah, I had a prediction. Okay, here.
Mm.
So I used to to put a like to draw it, to draw like a watch here. Okay, and I
Mm.
used to say the sentence like, even a stop clock hits twice a day.
Mm.
So I was asking them for o'clock hours. Okay, so they were saying, for example, 11. So I drew 11. Okay, and then leave it on the table. Okay, and then, no, so sorry. They said this after this. I used to write like a clock with the
Mm.
fuck
The
my
arms.
English, the arms. So sorry, and it was a random hour. Okay,
Mm.
there. So then they had to name an hour, on a clock hour. For example, 11. So the deck was shuffled. We were counting 11, okay? And we had like, imagine the Jack of Diamonds, okay? So then I showed my prediction. It was the Jack of Diamonds, okay? So it was leaving here the card again, and they were now we were counting a different hour, okay? So we were counting with my hour. I draw like 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, and now it was like a different card. It was a transformation here, and then the clock had changed his time, you know.
Nice.
So well,
but this would just be like any hour they could name.
Almost
like
any.
No, but that would be the idea. Like they would name the hour. It's not that they had to see how late is it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, they were naming an hour. Yeah. The thing is, it's a little bit, you know, pretentious, the effect, because it's very difficult to follow the same, you know, because we don't have like any of the information, just the effect. But
I think it's interesting to consider that Hofzinser's shows were planned, like they were parlor shows. So if you're like really professional and great in what you do, which is a lesson everyone should learn, is if you get booked, for example, for an act of 20 minutes, your act is going to be exactly 20 minutes, maybe like 19 or 21. But so many magicians get booked for 20 minutes and their act is either 15 or 30. But it's never 20, which is something that's really important to learn. You do it for yourself in your room. Even imagine that you're talking to people, pretend to be fucking schizophrenic, and then when you're done, just hey, how long did this take? Oh, it was 15 minutes. Okay, now I can add maybe 1 or 2 more effects to it, depending on the type of effects that you do. But if we would consider that, then also Hofzinser would start at a time, like let's say he would start at 8, and he would maybe do 1 hour of conjuring, or this pre-act that would need to be timed, and he would want to have 1 hour of conjuring. And then maybe in between half of that hour of conjuring, he would just say, oh, it's 9 o'clock now. And he would make sure that at that time he could do this trick and just end up perfectly with asking someone what's the time as he does this. Right? Like that's a very plausible explanation. I wouldn't explain this as a walk around effect where it could be done anytime, anywhere, but just in his particular show.
Yeah. I think that's the way I don't know. Yeah, but it's something interesting, you know, like, because maybe you leave a color change, but the thing is, if you have like, if you take a pen and you're painting, you know, like a watch, and the time changes, the feeling is totally different, you know. Even if they
That's a beautiful fact. This is like portraying the idea that this guy with just a piece of paper always can know what the time is. He doesn't need a watch. He's a real wizard. He just writes a circle, and the circle shows us the time.
Yeah, it's really, really, really nice. Yeah, I like it. I mean, it's something very poetic at the same time, you know. Nice.
Okay, so the magic separation. A conjurer displays a pack of cards. All the suits and colors are mixed together. He puts the pack on the table and divides it into 2 piles. In one pile, all the cards will be red. In the other, all blacked, unprepared cards. So this sounds like out of this world.
Yeah. Yeah, but it sounds like that there are like many versions of it. And I know like in Spain it was very typical like some years ago. Well, it was very popular, this plot, and there were like many people doing this, you know, like they have like a deck of cards, and they were saying like grab the deck of cards and go dealing, you know, in 2 piles, however you want. After this, the cards were separated. I know like Kiko Pastor, Joaquin Matas, they had like versions on it, so that's what I can say.
And you had Tamaris's crazy version with the second and thirds, and
The what?
Ford
Sorry.
deals. There is this version in Sonata of Out of This World where he
Oh,
uses like first, seconds, and thirds and
yeah,
fourths.
yeah.
It's like, what
I
the
know.
fuck, that is. And it also all divides, but then it also goes like it divides everything also in suit. Um,
Yeah,
but an interesting question to ask here is like, hey, is he? What's he doing, right? Like, is he dealing the cards? Because it says he puts back on the table and divides it into two piles. So this could be he's dealing the cards, right?
yeah,
Or he just cuts the cards on the table, and we have sort of a more of an oil and water type effect, where he cuts the cards and everything balances each other out, and now the reds are here and the blacks are there.
yeah. That's
Or if you take it even further, you could have someone cut the cards. It's an uneven number of cards. You do something like balance, and all of a sudden both piles have the same amount of cards. Right? So first like 20 and like 32, and all of a sudden they're both 26. But then you do it again, or you show the card, you do it again, and all of a sudden these are all red and all of those are black. Right? So we sort of have like two things happening, which could be an interpretation as well, which would also not be a bad effect.
yeah, yeah. I know what you mean. Mm. It's I don't know. It's here. It's like with out of this world. Like
Mm-hmm.
is it better like a coincidence or that you're doing something? Because for example, I I used to do a couple of details. So when they
Mm-hmm.
are saying like red, black, and we are distributing the cards, red, blah, 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 blah. Sometimes I used to say, "Oh yes, you did it red," and then I used to
Mm-hmm.
continue in the middle. Many years ago, I saw some people doing like, imagine they say red, and I said, "Oh, you did a little mistake. It doesn't matter. We leave it on red, and let's
Mm-hmm.
see how many." And then we were transforming this card.
Right. So all the cards would transform.
So I don't know.
But yeah, because on one hand, like for me, that sort of feels like that removes the whole like need for the procedure of dealing the cards down on the table. Because in one way, to me, out of this world, the amazing thing is that they go like, yeah, but I dealt everything down like I wanted it to, and in a random way, and I dealt everything perfectly. Whereas if it transformed anyway, that the dealing wouldn't have mattered, and they could have also shuffled the deck and then cut.
Yeah, probably.
But it's interesting. It's an interesting interpretation, and I mean that detail is interesting that you show them when they're doing it wrong. Because if you can show them when they're doing it wrong, then it gets ingrained in their head. Like, oh, there's like the cards are going everywhere. Makes
Yeah.
that feeling of random bigger, and then it transforms. Um, but I'm not sure if it makes it better.
Well, I don't know.
But it's
It's
a
something I
discussion,
will.
right? Like,
Yeah,
do you want an impossible or incredible effect?
yeah. It's difficult to say. Like it depends on the phenomenon. Like if,
And also on the show, like depends on the other piece that you do. Because in some shows, um, when there's a lot of chance things going on, it might be really good to do it in the magical way. But I guess in some other shows, if you already have changes going on, it's much better to do it in the way where it's like complete chaos and random, and it becomes like incredible.
yeah. Well, sometimes look. Do you know like the too perfect theory, right? Like when
Mm-hmm.
something looks like too perfect, is it can be perceived like something prepared, and it doesn't have like the impact on the audience that it should have.
Mm-hmm.
So so the thing is like, for example, thinking of out of this world. Um, Imagine that you're doing all the process, and you show the cars, and you have here all
Mm-hmm.
the red cars, but suddenly there's one black.
Mm-hmm.
imagine how beautiful it would be, like saying, "Oof, you did a little mistake, no worries," and then you go on the black, I'm sorry, on the red, and it transforms into red.
Mm.
Like a final thing. Oh my god, it'd be awesome. Like, yeah, maybe you're breaking the rhythm, but if in the show you didn't have any tension and you didn't made any mistake, everything was
Mm.
perfect. It can give you like something different, and people are going to appreciate it. They are going to see you as a human being, and that's
Mm.
important as well, in my opinion. Well,
Of
well, for
course.
me.
Yeah. Important not to be Superman, but to be a human you can relate to.
Yeah, Gabby used to say like he hated like James Bond's magicians, like after, well, probably Gabby hadn't watched the last movies because the last James Bond is human, like you can hit him, you can hurt him, and
Mm.
everything. So what he was saying is like sometimes magicians after the show they have like the hair perfect, they didn't sweat, and
Mm.
they look like before the show, and it isn't
He
any
wants to
change.
see
So,
chaos.
yeah, like I don't know, like an earthquake on the theater, or something, like
Mm.
yeah.
Oh, that's so funny when I do my show, man. I do it with David. And when I finish, there's like a lot of symbolism going on, but it ends very clean, right? Like it ends full circle. Now the box that was in the beginning on the table is opened, the note is out, and the cards are everywhere, sort of, but that's it. But when David does a show, there's like thread here, candle wax here, fucking water everywhere, and I'm like, oh my god, David.
A baby crying, I don't know why, in the middle, and a goat,
Yeah, end
and
of
a
the
bleeding
world,
goat,
like some ring with people offering the goat to Satan, stuff like this. Yeah,
and a nun
yeah.
praying.
Oh God, please forgive us.
Well, nice. Let's move on,
And
right?
her eyes turning red and blood coming out of them, and she turns into a demon and eats you. Okay, so the flower puzzle. A card is drawn and is revealed as the Queen of Hearts. That lady loves flowers. The picture on the card changes to a picture of a flower. The conjurer apparently picks the flower from the card, and the real flower appears in his hand. The painted flowers on the card change back to the picture of the Queen of Hearts. So, essentially, as I interpret it, right? If the card is picked, Queen of Hearts turns into the picture of a flower on the card now instead of the Queen of Hearts. It sort of goes like this, and the flower goes out of the card, and the card is shown back, and it's the Queen of Hearts again.
Uh,
Yeah. The conjurer apparently picks the flower from the card, and the real flowers appear in his hand. The painted flowers on the
yeah,
card change back to the picture of the Queen of Hearts.
yeah.
Which makes me think sort of two things. First of all, is your effect that you posted on the Instagram. Um, you produced a flower.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and this the second thing is the Darren Brown effect on the DVD he recently re-released in a digital edition with Vanishing Ink.
Mhm.
Devil's Picture Book. That's it. Devil's Picture Book. He has this effect where at one point he goes like this, and then the cards turn into flower petals.
Um, I'm thinking of a simple detail.
Mm.
So imagine there's a chosen card,
Mm.
and I don't know how to say it, but the queen should have, like the flowers. Actually, this one has a flower, something like
Yeah, you
this.
mean like she's holding on to the flowers?
Um, Maybe take it them, and then you show like the flowers are missing here.
Mm.
just to respect something similar to the fiction. But yeah, it's symbolic. It's beautiful. I mean, it helps
But at the
users.
same time, it's a nice picture that he like another detail could be, if you can do it, is to um right change into the flower. So there's a painted flower on there. You go here, sort of like you take them out, like you just sort of like you reach in, take out the flowers, show the card as a blank card. No, wait, that destroys the fiction. Um, yeah, or you could like it would also be nice with you thing, like if you could have the card, take the flower from the queen, show it, and then put it back. Or not at all. Just leave the card. Just leave the queen and just hand the queen without the flower and the flower out to someone.
Yeah, the thing is, I'm dying to know, like the purpose behind this because Hofzinser, what we know, like the
Mm.
scripts and everything. So imagine, try to figurize him, talking about something, and having a card, a queen, and then the flower. I don't know. I don't know. I I don't have like enough
Johan
tools
Nevenpuk,
to.
Hofzinser hitting on all the ladies in every show.
It was a sex symbol.
And a model.
Well, I'm the only one.
Yeah.
Ok. El lanzamiento de cartas.
Toss of cards?
Next one.
Okay. The conjurer has a pack of cards in his hand and appears to
Well,
throw
sorry,
away
sorry.
the.
The Spanish edition has a subtitle. It's called El lanzamiento de cards, like throwing cards, and then disapparition, like questioning. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
I'm not kidding.
Okay.
I'm not kidding.
Okay.
Look, I can show it to you. I'm not kidding. Can you see it?
Oh yeah. The separation?
Desaparición? Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so the conjurer has a pack of cards in his hand and appears to throw away the whole pack. They disappear. Suddenly, they are in his hand again. He throws them in the air, catches the fallen cards, and again has a hand full. He throws them away again, they vanish, and he displays his empty hands. Suddenly, the pack is revealed in his hands again. This makes me think of Cardini.
Yeah, Cardini, Channing Pollock, and many others.
Mm.
Do you know this guy called? How is this guy called? He's French. He does like balls and cars on the stage. He's a Grand Prix. He's Grand Prix. Well, keep talking. I'm gonna try to remember.
But this basically looks like basic manipulation act. Although
Yeah.
the beginning part is interesting to me though. He has a pack of cards in his hands and appears to throw
Yeah.
away the whole pack. Well, they disappear. Well, he
Yeah.
appears to throw them away. So, but we don't know because when I read this, I have the image of someone throwing a pack in the air and just mid-air just like gone, right?
Yeah.
But most likely he throws it away, like he just puts the whole deck into something, throws it into a hat or something, or into a can or into a box, and then the whole pack is back. And it's sort of this pack that keeps coming back to his hands, and he throws all these cards in the air, which are all scattered around the place. Through the air, which would be impossible to catch a perfect fan from, and he goes into there and he catches a perfect fan. And he throws that away again, and they vanish, and he displays his empty hands. So with some manipulation, all of a sudden they're full of cards again.
Yeah. Totally. What I was trying to remember is like the name of a French magician. Oh my god, I'm very bad today. I don't know why. I'm trying to find it here. Well, this guy used to perform something on the stage, very interesting with balls and cards. But basically, he has a deck of cards. He opened the case. He has a deck of cards. He throws He throws the case, and then the deck is again with the case. This kind of things. So it's similar as well. And actually, I remember there was in the magic Japanese book of magic. So maybe I can show it to you where you have like the deck of cards. Oh, it's right there. Let me take it because I like it. It's a method quite interesting. I don't exactly remember how to say that. Like this. Oh, fuck was. Yeah. Okay. Nice. Okay. Perfect. So basically, I don't know. Yeah, it's going to suck. Please. You have a deck of cards. Okay. And then you only have, so sorry because I didn't do it in a very long time. You have to do something like this. You have now the deck here, okay, as you can see, and then you could open again this, you know, having the deck.
Okay.
Something like that. I don't exactly remember the method, but yeah. So maybe we have to think of, if you're making up your cards or you're making up the case as well or not.
What is it about? Like, is it about the things being thrown away and coming back? Because I see some different effects in it, right? Because he's like throwing the deck away and it reappears, so it's sort of like it goes away but it reappears. But then also we see he throws them into mid-air, catches the fallen cards, and again has a full hand. So the cards are scattered in the air and he just goes like this, and I just imagine him having a fan, like 2 fans of cards in his hands. Which would be impossible if they're like all scattered throughout the air and like flying all over the place, which I can imagine is a very spectacular picture. Then he throws them away again, they vanish, he displays his hands empty, and suddenly the pack is revealed in his hands again. Which this effect becomes also very interesting if we make it perverse, like perverse magic, like the people of Nueva talks about. And like you see his new coin routine, which I think is beautiful, the Prefer Silver. But that reminds me a lot of the Homan card from Fred Capps, which wasn't Capps' effect, but Fred Capps is known for this. And at the same time, also his build track from Fred Capps was a very perverse effect. But even going further back to something that relates to this, Cardini was a very perverse effect. Because you have this gentleman on stage just walking around and cards are appearing everywhere, and he doesn't want these cards and keeps throwing them away.
Yeah. Yeah, even once he's doing like that, some cards appear and they find the cards,
And he bumps into them with his head, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's yeah. Basically, it looks like manipulation everything. Yeah. It's interesting.
Nice. Okay, the card and the turnip.
Well, here's called like a Robinson. Like it's a legend character. A character from the legend is like a gems from the mountains, and he likes eating carrots, and he bets against the devil. Okay, it's written like that. Maybe you know how to pronounce it because you better know German. Like Hofzinser'S.
Oh, Rubazal.
Always all. Well, I don't know. So you go if you want because I have like Spanish.
Sounds like a radish, yeah, rap, Rubazal, yeah, radish. So it's a radish, sort of. The conjurer shows a tray full of turnips. One is picked out. A card is drawn and vanishes from the conjurer's hand. The turnip is cut open, and in it is the drawn card. So we're doing card 2 orange, but with radishes. I think it's interesting because they're smaller.
With carrots, right?
No. With like this.
Well, the Spanish edition says carrots.
Okay, but Rudetzal is not a carrot.
what can I say? It's like the monster, or something like that. It's a myth.
Yeah, folklore mountain spirit of a giant mountains. Between historical lands of Bohemia and Sicilia, he is subject of many legends and fairy tales in German, Polish, and Czech folklore. Cool.
Yeah. I don't know.
So then your version is much more explicit because this just goes like, hey, card's picked. It's vanished. Now it's in your chosen turnip.
Yeah. Look, I think this is the...
Yeah, I just found it.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I mean, there are many versions in it. Maybe if you use, like typical fruit or typical vegetables from your region at that moment, it's something interesting, as many people have pointed, like in different moments and in different books, like, many years ago, doing magic with food was something powerful because they didn't have like the possibility of having, like unlimited food, so that's why maybe making appear an egg, with the egg and the bag or whatever was something interesting. So I guess like doing the same with a carrot or with a whatever or an orange could be awesome, like first references doing the card into the orange was about Mario Casanova. He was performing in the UK, and after this, many magicians copied him. Yeah, he used to use like pistol, like a gun. So they were pouring, I think like a paper with a written word or something like that record inside. They were shooting, and when they opened the orange, when they cut in two halves here, the card or the written thing was inside. And you can read on this booklet that I have here. Where is it? Oh, right here. Let me show it to you.
Neoclassics? Yeah,
First,
the neoclassics.
Yeah, first routine. It's like Heise. Stephen Mange talks about it.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So sorry, I don't have all my books here, but if I would, I could give you like further references on it. But
awesome, man.
Yeah. Let's keep going, right?
The visiting card. A visiting card is produced and placed in an envelope. What? Okay. A visiting card is produced and placed in an envelope. A card is then drawn. The drawn card vanishes from the hand, and the visiting card appears in its place. In the envelope will be the drawn card.
So a
card is produced. Visiting card. It's visiting us. And we put it into the envelope, which is placed somewhere away. Someone picks a card. Right, yeah. Then the card vanishes from the hand, and all of a sudden in the hand appears the visiting card, and in the envelope is their card.
In the Spanish edition, there are like different some details. Like we ask to someone for a visit card, and we put it inside of an envelope. So we are not producing it. We are asking to someone for then a chosen card disappears, and it's like a transposition, with a so that's
with an envelope.
That's all.
But then with a business card, for example, or any card.
Yeah, it makes me think of this, like imagine like you can do what about angle, but
you're amazing.
like being on internet, like something like that,
Yeah.
So I don't know, it's it could be something similar, and I think we can easily imagine the rest of the method, but yeah.
Makes me think of Nepal a bit as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, next.
Like very
Hmm?
interesting. Yeah, no, it's interesting. Yeah.
The pack of knaves. A pack of cards seems to change into little flags. 4 flags are picked out and change into 4 knaves, disguised in the national costumes. What?
Okay. Here is called like the Gang of the Landskenates. Landskenates was like a mercenary from the German infantry during the 15th and 17th century. Okay,
Mm.
so so a deck of cards transforms into small flags. Okay, in the
Mm.
hands. From this group of flags, 4 of them are chosen. Okay, and in this 4 of them appear 4 jacks that they
Mm.
pretend to be like landskenets, like the mercenaries.
Mm.
So here we have like the nationalist has nationalist moment of life,
Mm.
like when yeah.
Okay, last one. The mysterious card. A card is drawn, and a lady is asked to hold out her hands. In one hand is placed a card, in the other, the pack of cards. Now the lady is asked to shuffle the drawn card in the pack. The card appears in another place and has disappeared from the pack. Okay, so she's last pick card, remember it. She holds onto the cards given the deck, she shuffles the card into the deck. It's found, for example, in a turnip, and then and then it's gone from the deck.
Juan Tamariz does something similar on his house. Apparently, when people get there, he's showing the house, the garden, and everything. They're talking, and someone thinks of a car or chooses a car. I don't exactly know, because he never performed that. He has never performed this effect to me. But basically, there's a chosen card, and someone points a place in the garden or in the house, and right there, the car appears right there. It's like
That's interesting.
that's a mystery.
But basically, this is a card to impossible location.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It reminds me to something very interesting. There's a fact very interesting that I don't know the real author, but I know like David Blaine used to do it. So there's a chosen card. You rip the corner disappears, and the corner appears
Well, I mean,
somewhere
Daniel
else.
Madison has that DVD called Corner Z, I believe, where he explains that. But I think it's older than Madison, probably.
Yeah, probably. There's actually an invisible deck routine where they think of a card. You remove this card, you rip the corner of this card, and the corner appears someone else's. Like, yeah. Alberto de Figueiredo, a magician from Spain, he has his own interpretation on it. It's the classical one with some details. Yeah.
Of course, you also have these interpretations from Malini on it. Like he used to do similar stuff, making cards vanish and reappear in other places.
It's something interesting. I think it was like maybe this guy, Jan Frisch. I think he had like his own track to perform, and he was making appear cards in different places as well. So.
But you know what's interesting also? It's like, look, like today the he's very much respecting the fiction, right? Because today we say, oh, this card is picked, it goes to somewhere impossible. Okay, you have to sign the card because you have to make sure it's the same card. But for him, for Hofzinser, he lets someone pick a card, it goes back, and then the card is the card appears somewhere else and has disappeared from the pack. Right? So it's much more interesting to then whoop, show the deck. The card is not there, which brings the question, wait, but if it's not there, then where is it? And then he goes over somewhere, or someone else goes over somewhere, and the card appears there, which respects the fiction much more, I think, than to say you have to sign it.
Yeah, well, we don't have like any. Well, I think we don't have data about how many deck of cards Hofzinser had during his life, but I guess no more than 20. You know, that's what I'm saying. Is like there's no reason. You know, there weren't any reason.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, but I've been experimenting with it. Like, of course, I've been doing cards to wallet also a lot. It's a nice effect. And I got this really nice wallet from Patrick Kuhn. It's a wallet I love. The load is lovely and it's beautiful. But of course you would have someone sign the card, it would vanish, and out of the wallet you would have the signed card. But then I found this method from Mike Pishoda in his notes. It's called I think Advanced Eversons, and this effect is just someone says stop with a dribble. They look at the card, deck is placed down, the deck is spread, and the card is seen to be gone. And he picks out his wallet from his pocket, shows that the card is in there, puts the wallet on the table, card goes back in the deck. He says, let's do it again. And someone else says, stop. Remember a different card. Deck is spread on the table again. Also, this card is gone, and now on the wallet that's on the table, he opens up that wallet and removes one card, which is the selection. And that effect taught me like the respecting the fiction, and that by putting down the right conditions and framing something in the right way, we don't need to have a card signed. But if we spread the cards and we show the card is gone, this automatically creates the question, okay, but if it's gone, then where is it, right? Because that's what like dramatical structure does. It creates questions and you sort of answer those questions in some way. And I think that that's a very important part of that effect. And it's much more believable in that way, that it's the same card, because I had no one ever ask, wait, but do you have two cards? Like, no one ever came up with that thought, because the line is so clear of what you're doing that thought doesn't appear.
Yeah. Yeah, depending on what you want to do, like sometimes like conditions are conditions, and it's important to have something else. But there are many options, you know. There are many options.
Yeah, but what I'm sort of saying with this is like,
no, I understood that.
If
yeah.
no, but I know, but that's which is something to add to it. Like, if we're doing a card to wallet, but we need the signature on the card to prove that it's the same card, then do they really believe the card has gone to the wallet? Probably not.
The thing is, as Kanye used to say, we have like the demonstration of the effect and the corroboration of the effect. You know, the corroboration is like proving that the effect, you know, has happened, you know? So, for example, in the triumph, how do you demonstrate that the effect has happened? You just spread the deck. How do you prove it? You go with your finger one by one, you know, till the selected one, and you show like there are no more face-up cards, okay? And that's very important because maybe you don't have to say it, but doing an action that proves that helps a lot. So with when you're doing, for example, travelers, you know, the cards are in your pocket, but the way to prove it's like, look, it has your signature, or spreading the deck, you know, face up on the deck, on the table, sorry, and showing that there's no any other ace, you know. And yeah,
what do you think about that? Like, would it be impossible to show that those aces are gone beforehand or after the effect?
Well, depending if you're palming a card, you can show.
No, but ideally speaking.
Ideally.
Because I would say that ideally you reveal that the card has gone before and then answer the question of where it has gone.
Depending on the context. Look, Tamaris does like the hand pinching routine, you know, points to the table, and then he finishes with a hand chain, and people are holding his hands, and he does like this. Look, first one, second one, third one. He's like catching them, and then he opens here. He shows the coins, and he keeps this closed fist. You know, he shows the coins. Is like this. He waits a little bit, and then he smiles. He doesn't say anything, but people are thinking, "Oh, open this fucking hand," you know. And then he does like this. The spectator is holding him, you know, and then he does like there's nothing.
Yeah, but that's indeed depending on the context. But let's say we're having 4 aces in a deck, then I would say taking the process of revealing it takes much longer than just opening your hand. And in that case, it would be better to, if we have to go through 52 things, to reveal it beforehand.
Yeah. So in this,
I can imagine it becomes anticlimactic, right? If we do something, if we first show the aces come from the pocket, then spread the deck, and we have to go one by one to show that the aces are gone.
Yeah. So basically, I have a theory behind this. You know, like we have like simple effects, complexes effects. A simple one is just an effect that happens. You know, you make appear a card, you vanish a card, whatever. You make a card vanishes. You know, but the thing is, a complex effect, it could be like a transposition. For example, you have here 2 cards. Okay, you show the 5 and the 8, and then here you have the 5. Well, imagine here you have the 5 and you have this. So what happens here is like this effect here is lived as a transformation, and this one as a trouble. But the effect is a transposition. Why do I say that? Because if you put the aces inside the deck, okay, the 4 of them, blah, 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 and they travel to the pockets, what they are leaving is like, depending on how you do it, they can leave a disapparition or an apparition. So if you show first the deck, you're showing a disapparition. So this is the demonstration of the effect, and the corroboration is going to be like showing the cards in different pockets. But look at this detail. Imagine that I spread the deck on the table, but I don't say anything, and suddenly I show my empty hands, and I have 1, 2, 3, and 4 cards here, and I say, look at the deck, and they are checking, no aces, and they say, because I have 1, 2, 3, and this one, the 4 aces. That's totally different. Different. Yeah, you can say, well, it could be like better solved, you know, like you could sell in a better way the effect or whatever, but it's very difficult to know how to do it, because depending on the context, you know, it's like, for example, with the Triumph, I prefer to spread the deck face down, but sometimes if you spread it face up, you're changing everything, you know, like I don't know,
definitely,
it's totally different. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess that's a good place to end the podcast, because I have to go. Nice. So guys, thank you for watching. We'll see you again in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And we hope that you guys have a great time. If you enjoyed it, give us a like, give us a share, let us know your comments. And we hope to see you soon.
See you.